Lady has a proficiency, obviously, in Latin cuisine. Born in Panama, but raised and educated in New York, she was the first to open the first Mexican restaurant in Greenwich Village, New York, and Princeton, New Jersey. And she happens to have founded the Princeton Cooking School. A round of applause, please, for Ruth Alegria.
The stage is yours.
Well, you all know Mexico. You all know that there's a connection between Mexico and the Philippines, and it's a very strong connection. The first of our slides, though, because we are talking about street food, shows you 3 different pictographs from the Florentine codices. And I tend to get sometimes a little too talky about historical facts, but if we don't know our history, what do we know about our present? And here you have 3 pictures of the lower, I don't know whether it's my lower right, yes, shows a woman. The things that are flowing from her mouth say that she is speaking words, and the words are to the corn.
Let me help you out over there. So we got watermelon, right? That's watermelon? Yep. Yeah, that's watermelon. He's distributing some of the mango, diced mangoes around them. What's this purple thing? That's the duha with the durian inside. With yeah. The durian is jackfruit, right? No? Langka. Okay. Langka. Because actually now that we came in, I was like, I'm smelling it. What are you scattering on top? Peanuts? Peanuts and passion nuts toasted. This is a little bit of onion as well, fresh onion, yeah, fresh onion. So savory sweet. Santol. Oh, he really went all out with the fruits.
It's all about the fruits of the Philippines.
Well, we got a lot, yeah, and it's all in season. Watermelon, langka, duha, mango, santol, and now you're breaking with this one, mint or mint leaves on top. Can you imagine all the flavors already you'll be picking up from a dish like this? All the fruits. Okay, now the mint just totally overpowered the smell of the langka, right? The jackfruit. And this is throw in a little saltiness in there. Chinese sausage. And crispy shallots.
A lot of places, I travel around the world, and a lot of places that use crispy shallot. Most of them are store-bought, right? That I see. I won't mention name of the restaurant, but most of them are store-bought, and I want to tell everyone now that store-bought shallot is illegal. It should be illegal. It should really be illegal. Why? You know, you pass doesn't matter. This is a little burnt because it's probably the first time they fry this shallot. And you know, the shallot is hard to fry. If first time you fry, it will burn. It's the hardest thing to fry, shallots, to get the right temperature. But people love shallot because of the spice, the bitterness, the bitter end. Food should be like wine. When you eat, there should be a dimension of flavor, explosive and orgasm in your mouth.
We like to put that on top of lugaw. Lechon. Oh, you even put lechon. Lechon manok. Lechon manok.
And skin.
Best part. This is the yam. Not yet. Tamarind paste or juice. Also from the Philippines. Yeah, everything from here. That's a lot. But can you imagine already all the tastes and the flavors that he was able to, like, little by little put into this dish?
I will make a little sample portion and pass it out so you can feel the flavor. The way to eat this is just cut the watermelon and have everything in one spoon and eat it like wine. Right? Eat it, let it play in your mouth, let the flavor explode, right? And then feel the fish sauce, feel the lime. And lastly, I forgot where my durian. Durian.
The durian. There you go. He's complaining, there's only a little bit. Okay, just a little.
Yeah.
The best.
Durian is when I come up.
Oh, you like durian?
Yeah, I love durian.
Well, I like the fact that it's a block of the watermelon, because when you swish it and try to get everything and it sticks to the watermelon, you get all the flavors in there.
This looks like what's gonna be in your stomach after a long day of eating. It's all inside there. It's gonna put it out there. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got salty, it's got sweet, it's got texture, it's got fried, it's got meat. It's a symphony of everything. It's not really Thai, it's not really anything. It's Andy Young.
Give him a round of applause, you guys. Come on. I love how we're always the first in line and we're like popping things.
It's fun.
I love how he brought it down to the basics. Again, who would have thought of that? What does Michelin star, plus street food, plus any kind of food at a restaurant, home cooking have in common? It's the preparation. Miss Unclass, thank you very, very much for that reminder and that go back to basics.
Andy Young, chef who loves what he does. He does two things.
Oh, no.
What, you want everybody to share this with you?
No, we're going to play this for everybody. This is the one for our photos. So again, should you want photos, what do you call this, Chef Andy? What do you want to call it? Salad. Okay. So salad by Andy. It's going to be put in our photo ladder over there. Do not forget the hashtag WSFC17. Tag Chef Andy Yap as well. And speaking of those samples, they're starting to work on it. But Chef Andy Yap, please, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. Well deserved.
That is really inspiring, right?
He wants to go to his aeroplane. I want to get into his aeroplane.
You built that. You built it.
I didn't build it myself. I didn't build it myself. I have a team build it. So we get a decommissioned plane and deassemble it, come piece by piece to the compound. I call it compound because it's big.
Which part of Bangkok?
Big Bao. Okay. And we assemble everything.
I'll be there.
Can I be his assistant?
Yeah, I know you're Chef Sal already happily playing around with all the fruits over here. You want some samples? I gotta admit it's limited. Line up in this side of the room. In the meantime, we're gonna take a quick break before we let you loose with some snacks prepared by Miss Chef Michelle Adriana, the same chef who has been preparing some snacks and food for us yesterday. We would like to invite all of you, first and foremost, don't forget what we encouraged you to do yesterday, which is to write down your ideas for our pitch box. It's right over there. Later on in the afternoon, around 3 o'clock, we'll have another round of the hackathon pitch box. Any idea, any sort of inspiration that strikes you during our talks, during the demos, write it down. You are in the perfect venue to network, to actually make partnerships and collaborations, because this is the place to make your ideas into reality.
Listen Network idea.
There you go. Listen Network idea. That's what we're trying to do today. And also, while you're stepping out for your snack, please drop by the Glow My Business booth. They have a talk happening tomorrow with another amazing lineup of speakers at 7:30 in the morning. Sorry about that.
That not only does it just focus on you working as a cook or a chef in the kitchen, but it's beyond that. So even in our classes, it's not just the practical technique of how to work in the kitchen, but we also have theory classes where they incorporate history, the culture behind the dishes, right? So when I ventured out of school, okay, actually Ian and some of my other contemporaries from there were big influences in developing that brand, and we were given the opportunity of going abroad to do our stage, and thankfully we ended up in France working for the affiliate of our school, which is Alan Lucas. Okay, and it's very funny because from Alan Lucas, here I come back to the Philippines and I put up a street food restaurant, right? And to us it was not
something Alan Lucas can't do. Develop curated content properly, done recipes, places, faces, tastes, and distill it. So, while the world of content searchers out there, they find everything. I think they want information delivered to them, very simple nuggets, not too didactic, not too historical, and it's a good time during the festival to really organize really good media, not just local, world, regional media, and do what we all do here, tell stories.
I think Chef Lloyd yesterday, he mentioned about selling, marketing Philippines as, we have good beaches and we forgot about food. I think that's one classic about Davao. We always feature about the beauty of Davao, but the food is not there yet. But then one day, I was in Davao, I tried this dish, kandeng. Yeah, it's caldereta with jackfruit.
Oh wow.
And I thought that was amazing.
Caldereta with jackfruit.
Yeah.
For durian, we now have a chef there who has a dish called seafood curry durian seafood, or seafood curry durian. She, what do you call that? Put some durian in seafood curry, and a very, very light flavor. You would not know that there's durian. It's not overpowering, but if you know your durian, once you taste the soup, then you will know that durian is faintly mixed into the flavor of the curry.
Speaking of durian, I don't know, we've gone through the durian search for the best durian in Davao at one time, and they always serve us with Coke. Tell me about that story. Why do you have to drink Coke with durian?
The cola or Coke removes the strong flavor.
Because that is not convinced. I've been telling him, we've been around Singapore and we've been trying all the durian. I said, in Philippines, we drink cola with durian. And he said, he's rolling his eyes. Can you tell me that he's cutting off the cholesterol or the fat?
For those of you with diabetes, okay, warning. Okay, durian is very high in sugar.
And cholesterol.
And so is Coke.
So we have Coke. So I think that's being Filipino. Right? We love sweets.
So yeah, no cholesterol, only diabetes.
No cholesterol, only diabetes.
But I will try it because it's part of the culture. If I don't experience it, I can't die and talk about it when I go to my next heaven.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mai Fong, chef of a lemongrass restaurant in Sacramento, California, and cookbook author. Today, I'm going to take you to my native country, Vietnam, where I was born and raised, and where my family and I lived before we emigrated to the U.S. I'll give you an insider's view of all the fabulous places, people, and foods that have inspired my cooking. We'll go to Saigon and savor some delicious street foods, and then to Mekong Delta, where you'll meet my 102-year-old grandmother at a joyful family reunion. Also, we'll journey to the ancient capital of Hue and feast on a fabulous royal dinner, done with all the traditional colors and rituals. That's all coming up as we tour Vietnam on My Country, My Kitchen. I was born in Saigon, and my family and I lived in Saigon until 1975, right after the end of the war, and that's when we fled Saigon and went to the U.S. I grew up in a home in which food was the center of the universe. Not only did food sustain us, but it brought us together, it bonded us for a long time after the war. You know, I felt a great deal of emptiness, wondering about what happened in Vietnam, wondering about what happened to my grandmother. There was this great sense of loss. I cooked out of longing for Vietnam. And basically, it was an attempt in many ways of, reconnecting with my past, the way that I knew how to. Over the years, I collected recipes from markets and restaurants, family and friends. So when someone dines in my restaurant or reads my cookbook, they're getting a taste of my travel journal. My family taught me to communicate through food, and so I preserved that tradition by sharing food with others. To be able to go back to Vietnam every year is sort of my way of getting re-energized and excited and being inspired.
Great stuff.
Saigon, the city I was born in, also known as Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon is located in South Vietnam, land of scooters and street vendors. In fact, lots of them. Morning, noon, and night, street vendors crowd the sidewalks of Saigon. You'll find them peddling pastries, mixing up exotic drinks, and selling savory treats wrapped in lotus leaves or rice paper. They work fast and fiercely, feeding the locals who love to dine al fresco. What's fascinating about these street vendors is that they operate like restaurants. They cook to order, bring the food to the table, and then clean up right on the spot. But instead of closing shop, they just pack up their portable kitchen and head home. When I was a little girl in Saigon, one of my most favorite things to do every morning is to go down to the neighborhood pho shop or beef noodle soup and order a bowl of pho. Mr. Sal starts off by blanching the tender rice noodles. A few pieces of thinly sliced beef are quickly cooked and served in a beef broth that is hearty and aromatic. He's been stirring this classic Vietnamese soup for 30 years. He starts at 6 a.m. and runs out of ingredients within 2 hours. You can see both the French and Chinese influences in this simple bowl. From the inclusion of beef, which the French introduced to the Vietnamese back in the late 1800s, to the noodles and ginger typical of Chinese cooking. Some believe pho is the Vietnamese version of pot au feu, the famous French soup with meat and vegetables. To properly enjoy a bowl of pho, you have to have all the traditional condiments. Here you have fish sauce. We have some black bean sauce, which is sort of like hoisin sauce. And then you have very spicy chili sauce. And so what I like to do is to add a squeeze of lime, just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of a tang. There we go. And some chilies, freshly cut chilies. So I'll add that in. And of course, you've got to have some fresh herbs, which is really the core of Vietnamese cooking. So what you want to do is push all the herbs into the broth and dig into it. Let's have a look. There's this woman who I really, really adore. She's my favorite sticky rice vendor. She parks her baskets of sticky rice in the same corner for the last 30 years. Okay, she starts the banana leaf with some toasted rice paper, tops it with turmeric flavored sticky rice, some black sticky rice, some mung bean paste, tops it with a little sugar, some roasted peanuts, and lots of shredded coconut, which I love. And all for 20 cents. When she hands it to me, I can feel the warmth, of the sticky rice, and I can smell almost the sweetness of the coconut, and you know what, I feel really good. Street vendors are master chefs. They specialize in one dish and serve it the same way for many years. When I'm looking for inspiration and authenticity, I head out to the streets. It can take me a few days to weave my way through the maze of food stalls. The choices are endless, but luckily, it's hard to go wrong, especially when I hear a certain sizzle echoing from a particular alleyway. These are bánh xèo, sizzling Saigon crepes, one of my absolute favorites. I'm not sure what I love more, eating the dish or watching the group of women shuffle through the crepes like a dance. They ladle a thin batter of rice flour, coconut milk, and turmeric into a hot pan that already has shrimp, pork, and bean sprouts. The crepe is then gently folded and ready to be served. Come on in. Now, to enjoy this this delicious bun-sale dish. You start out with a piece of mustard laid like this. You tear up a piece of the crepe here. It's nice and hot, right, with some shrimp. Add some fresh herbs and just wrap it up just like this and dip it in the sauce, just like this. It's delicious.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my Tham.
Thank you so much. Do you feel like wanting to go to Vietnam? Yes. And try all those wonderful foods? Well, the best thing I can offer you is that we have brought some really good food for you here in the Jamboree. There's so many things to choose from, but if you're interested in some Vietnamese flavors, Cito has recruited two amazing families here that I just met and who offered to help with making the samples today. I'm not supposed to tell you that, but I'm telling you right now. But anyway, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. We do lots of training with professional chefs in the US. I work with a lot of chefs, and that's how I come to know Cito for many of these conferences. And it feels just at home here to be at this conference. But this is a very quick and short story just to show you how I've done it. So there's always this passion for great food. But being from Vietnam and seeing my parents lose everything during the war was a great motivator. So it's a very personal story, really. Had no business plan, nothing. Just wanted to kind of get back on our feet after having lost everything. We came to the US with just the clothes on our backs. This is very similar to so many, hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese families who emigrated there. And so it was against that backdrop that made me realize, I had not planned on being in the food business at all. It was all an accident. But I saw that through cooking that I was able to connect with the community. When we came in 1975 in the US, no one wanted to talk about Vietnam, and many of you here probably don't remember that time, but like being new in a country, you feel so lost, you've lost everything, you're really down and out. Humble beginning is really beyond words. And to not be able to talk about what might make you whole again was very difficult. But when I started cooking and when I started having the restaurant, I realized that people all of a sudden became very engaged. They were interested in Vietnam. Vietnam was like a bad word before they thought about food. And so I kind of kept at that because from an emotional and a personal standpoint, it really helped me, become whole again. So that was really the impetus behind all of this. And then it's always been, my favorite foods in the whole wide world is street food. Food that you ate as a child. Food we ate, it was so inexpensive, either it's a green mango with salt and chili after school, or some pudding, or on the weekends my dad would take us to have pho, all those things. And so I always wanted to do that. And I always wanted to do it in a real casual way. And it's because, for those of us who live here in Asia or grew up in Asia, we all know that it's so simple, right? Eating is so simple. And I think Greg was talking yesterday, in the old days, like really good food usually meant expensive food that you had to go, and it's probably Western food, right? Because you don't align, like good food with Asian food or Asian street food. So what I wanted to do today is talk about that story of how I took my love of street food and turn it into a restaurant concept and have been working at it for quite some time. And I thought I would call my story the bun sale journey. And when I wrote the slide or thought of it, I didn't know that Cito would have the bun sale vendor here, so that's great. But our business model, we have a flagship restaurant called Lemongrass, and I've had that for 20 years. But in the last 6 years, I've always wanted to do casual food, but it was, it's not that easy in the US with a very developed market, very sophisticated market on one level, and it's very competitive, right? And so even though people say they love food, good food, exotic food, adventurous food, maybe not really ready So I've always wanted to do that. And so this is a picture of the the one restaurant we have. Our business model is I wanted to see what I could do about sharing my passion with a much wider audience, and know that I cannot really do it myself. I can't open a restaurant and run it myself. And so it has to be done with a partner. It has to be done with a company that is already doing that. And I picked a sector in our industry called non-commercial. So it's not the street location, right? The public can't walk through. But we are in government buildings. We are at the FDA, for example. We are at Stanford University. We are at the Patent Trade Office. We are at many hospitals. So that's our model. Just going to flip through really quickly just some foods that come out of the restaurant. These are not style. These are just pictures and colors of the food, and kind of maybe share with you what is appealing in the U.S. market. And I think in many ways it's because there is a great interest in global flavors now, great interest in Asian flavors, a tremendous interest in healthy flavors, a lot of emphasis on local food, sustainable food. So that's what the wider market is looking for. And we're lucky that we've been doing this kind of cuisine, and as many of you know, Vietnamese cuisine can be inherently very, very healthy, right? So these are just really quick photos of what our restaurants look like, what our food looks like. One of the things that's very appealing, and maybe this is the comment earlier that I heard, sometimes you have to, we talk about it as being stories, but what I do a lot of times is in trying to, a lot of people love certain cuisines for certain reasons, and if they're not chefs, they don't really know why. And so I feel that it would be very compelling to our guests to share the story about, we don't tell them that they love the food, we just tell them what it is, and how it is, and how we got there. And I think by telling these narratives, it really helps to convey the message. Marketers would call it, messaging, right? So this is Vietnamese banh mi. Obviously, what's attractive about it is the crunchiness, right? The wonderful textures. I do a version with roasted meats, not the cold sandwich. And then you have all these wonderful layers, different layers. Vietnamese cuisine is about textures, about layers, about aromas, right? So we tell that story. It's very easy for someone to understand those things when they don't know the cuisine, right? Over the years, a lot of our dishes are very well written about. We were very lucky to have really good media coverage. One of my soup was Dish of the Year. As announced by the Bon Appetit. Some of our dishes too, we do a shaking beef, which is bò lục lak. But in the US, we dress it up a little bit. We put roasted pan-seared pineapple. And actually, I learned that recipe from the central part of Vietnam. We have one food truck, and one year we made it in the cover of Restaurant News. We're the number 17 game changer, so we're really excited about that. Just really quick about what our units look like. And so we're quite flexible. We work with operators who already have a concept and they want to reconcept it, or they want to build a brand new one. So this is a brand new one at the University of Tulsa. This is in Chicago. What is very proprietary and iconic of our concept is really the way the logo looks and the way our food looks and our menu system. Other than that is existing space, sometimes existing equipment. We just opened this just last fall, Tulane University, Minnesota State University. We actually, it used to be a Panda Express, and there's a lot of change-up in the US because they like more food than just Chinese. When you think about traditionally in the United States, Asian food is kind of Chinese food because Chinese food has been there for so long time, and it's great food. But if you look at the demographics doesn't only eat Chinese food. And so that has been an opportunity for us. So this one here that I was telling you is the Patent Trade Office, existing space. We came in and we basically kind of turn it up and so you can walk up at lunchtime and order Vietnamese pho or a banh mi and curries that cooked to order in a small pan there. This one we just opened. This is a very, very busy location where can't believe it. We don't think they really know the food, but for some reason this is the busiest location at Liberty University. And this is one of our newer locations at UMass. So as you can see here, it's very modern and slick, and where you see the black chimney there is where we do the sauce there. And I think that's it. So hope you enjoyed that. And so I picked this dish to do for you because again, I think bánh xèo, it's the Vietnamese crepe. It's very iconic of Vietnamese cuisine. And every time I do this dish, it's an example of, what is Vietnamese cuisine. It's about rice flour, which is an essential ingredient. What we have here, just basically rice flour, right? And it's not particularly, when we, some of you might be wondering, how is that I'm able to work with a large food service company with employees that I don't know, and how do you teach them? And the answer is, truthfully, it is challenging, but it's an important part. And we found that every time that we take the time to really share the cultural aspect of what we do, we find that we have better success as opposed to here's ABC 1, 2, 3. We spend a lot of time making people fall in love with some of the flavors and fall in love with why we are so respectful of the ingredients we work with, because we really should, right? I mean, all of these, like my mom said, didn't fall down from the sky, right? Some